members of the United States Congress. We are pleased to present our report now to the American people. It represents the unanimous views of our 10 members. On behalf of the Iraq Study Group, Jim Baker and I thank Congressman Frank Wolf, who took the initiative to create the study group, Senators John Warner and Joe Biden, Congressman Chris Shays, and others for supporting our efforts. And of course, we thank all of the members of the Congress on both sides of Capitol Hill, on both sides of the aisle. I want to say a word of appreciation to Jim Baker for his extraordinary leadership. It has been a high personal privilege for me to work with him. And of course, I extend my thanks to all members of the Iraq Study Group who have worked very hard and have come together to support this report. The situation in Iraq is grave and deteriorating. Violence is increasing in scope and lethality. Attacks on U.S. forces and U.S. casualties continue at an alarming rate. The Iraqi people are suffering great hardship. The democratically elected government that replaced Saddam Hussein is not adequately advancing the key issues of national reconciliation, providing basic security, or delivering essential services. Economic development is hampered. The current approach is not working, and the ability of the United States to influence events is diminishing. The United States has committed staggering resources. Our country has lost almost 2,900 Americans. 21,000 more have been wounded. The United States has spent an estimated $400 billion in Iraq, and costs could rise well over $1 trillion. Many Americans are understandably dissatisfied. Our ship of state has hit rough waters. It must now chart a new way forward. No course of action in Iraq is guaranteed to stop a slide toward chaos. Yet, in our view, not all options have been exhausted. We agree with the goal of U.S. policy in Iraq set forth by President Bush, an Iraq that can govern itself, sustain itself, and defend itself. We recommend a new approach to pursue that goal. We recommend a responsible transition. Our three most important recommendations are equally important and reinforce one another. First, a change in the primary mission of U.S. forces in Iraq that will enable the United States to begin to move its combat forces out of Iraq responsibly. Two, prompt action by the Iraqi government to achieve milestones, particularly on national reconciliation. And three, a new and enhanced diplomatic and political efforts in Iraq and in the region. The United States must encourage Iraqis to take responsibility for their own destiny. This responsible transition can allow for a reduction in the U.S. presence in Iraq over time. The primary mission of U.S. forces in Iraq should evolve to one of supporting the Iraqi army, which would take over primary responsibility for combat operations. As this transition proceeds, the United States should increase the number of troops embedded in and supporting the Iraqi army, and U.S. combat forces could begin to move out of Iraq. By the first quarter of 2008, subject of course to unexpected developments on the ground, all U.S. combat brigades not necessary for force protection could be out of Iraq. U.S. combat forces in Iraq could be deployed only in units embedded with the Iraqi forces in rapid reaction and special operation teams, and in training, equipping, advising, and force protection. A key mission for those rapid reaction and special forces would be targeting al-Qaeda in Iraq. It is clear that the Iraqi government will need assistance from the United States for some time to come. Yet the United States must make it clear to the Iraqi government that we could carry out our plans, including planned redeployments, even if the Iraqi government did not implement their planned changes. The United States must not make an open-ended commitment to keep large numbers of troops deployed in Iraq. We also make several recommendations to reset the U.S. military as these redeployments go forward. A military solution alone will not end the violence in Iraq. We must help the Iraqis help themselves. President Bush and his national security team should convey a clear message to Iraqi leaders. The United States will support them if they take prompt action to make substantial progress toward the achievement of milestones on national reconciliation, security, and improving the daily lives of Iraqis. If the Iraqi government does not make substantial progress toward the achievement of milestones, the United States then should reduce its political, military, or economic support for the Iraqi government. We now turn over the floor